So, welcome to Gay Ambition Podcast, where we bring out the best in life, business, now politics, and the community. I'm your host, Paul Collington. Today, I'm here in downtown Denver, and it's literally freezing.
A little bit cold.
And the Victory Fund is here with the LGBT Leaders Conference, and leaders from all across the world have flown in for this very special event. I have today sitting here with me Jeff Spitko, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Victory Fund. And Jeff, thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for meeting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so I guess let's start by talking a little bit about the training program that the Victory Fund provides, because I know that's why a lot of people here. There's some workshops and there's some plenaries, and then there's also the Victory Fund training. So can you tell a little bit about that to us for anyone who may be interested in it?
Absolutely. So the Victory Institute training, we actually have two organizations. There's the Victory Fund, which is a political action committee, and then the Victory Institute, which is a nonprofit that helps build and educate LGBT leaders. So with the training, it's a candidate and campaign training. It's a 3-day intensive boot camp. Candidates are pretty much running from the time they start the training to working in project groups during long nights each of the days. Goes through everything that a typical candidate would want to learn when they're considering running for office. Things like how to fundraise, how to get out the vote, but then also dives into a little bit more of the details on what you would do as an LGBT candidate, the unique challenges that you face when you run, how to deal with media and press in terms of those specific issues, and how to really not let your sexual orientation be a wedge issue used against you during your campaign.
Yeah. So are there any pre-qualifications that you have for getting into the program, or who is a good candidate to apply?
Sure. Anyone that's interested. I think that's the great part, is that we are trying to build LGBT leaders from across the country. Right now, there are 12 states that actually don't have LGBT representation in their state legislature. And then there's 2, Mississippi and Idaho, who actually don't have any LGBT official at any level throughout the state. So it's so critical to have representation, not only in the state, but in the state legislature. That's where the conversations are happening, and that's where legislation changes. You see states like Maryland and Washington, and even Denver, or Colorado, where things are progressing because of the voices that are in that community. In Colorado here, they gained civil unions. I mean, that was in no small part due to Mark Ferrandino, Lucia Guzman, and all the incredible officials that are in the state legislature that were there as a voice for the LGBT community.
Absolutely. And so being here, what are you most excited for this event personally? Who do we have here with us?
Well, it's great. This is actually the 29th year of the conference. So it's been going on a long time. We've been in a lot of cities. This is our largest yet. We're expecting over 600 individuals over the course of the weekend. Some canceled because of the snow. It was a little bit difficult to get in, so we've had some airport trouble, but it's still going to be an incredible crowd. We are really, really excited. Ed Murray is going to be here today. Ed is a newly elected mayor of Seattle, so the first openly LGBT mayor of that city. He's going to be speaking. Mike Michaud, who is now running for governor of Maine. He would be the first openly LGBT governor of a state.
I heard that last night at the cocktail party. There was some
very
conversations about it.
Yeah, so he'll be not only a big race for the Victory Fund in 2014, but an incredible speaker to just share his story with all the attendees today. Anise Parker, who's mayor of Houston. In 2009, she was elected to the mayor of the 4th largest city in the United States. Quite an accomplishment. Last year, she was one of the biggest races we had. She had run for her 3rd term and was successful. Very excited about that. She ran against a self-funder, a gentleman who put over $3 million of his own money into the race and beat him. So just so well respected and has just done amazing things in the Houston community. And she's going to be here speaking with us as well. Stuart Milk, who is going to be speaking tomorrow at our international plenary. So Stuart is the nephew of Harvey Milk, obviously the pioneer in the LGBT rights movement, is going to be speaking to us about some of the international work that he's been doing, which is a great component of the conference. It is an international conference, so we have folks from across the country. We have an elder care panel today that's going to be talking on issues, and 2 of the panelists are from various countries. Same with a lot of the sessions that will be held over the weekend. It's a packed schedule, so if you're coming, be prepared. We actually have 12 breakout sessions over the 2 days. So we do 3 tracks throughout the programming. There's one that focuses on professional development. So we want individuals to know when they come, and we focus on things like messaging or building coalitions. So skills-based sessions that they can learn throughout the weekend. The second track focuses on policy. So we'll be talking about some of the critical issues, not just for the LGBT movement, for all of the country. We have immigration is one of the panels that we'll be covering. Cyberbullying, which is a critical issue today, especially in the LGBT community. And then we focus on a track that talks about the LGBT movement specifically. So that will dive into issues like transgender equality. And then we have plenaries that we'll focus on today. Today we have one that's going to talk about post-DOMA and what's next for the LGBT movement. Obviously, the last 2 years, there's been a lot of momentum in the community. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was struck down, DOMA was struck down, and finally passed in the Senate, in no small part due to Tammy Baldwin, who's now a member of that chamber. And we're going to be talking about those issues. What's next? There's still only 16 states plus the District of Columbia have marriage equality.
Yeah.
So, in addition to trying to get marriage equality in those states, what else are we working on? What's next for the movement? I think that'll be a really, really interesting discussion.
Oh, it definitely will be. And there's so many discussions and workshops that you mentioned. I can't even decide what to go to, and then I'm going to be editing all this stuff. So I just got to get it together so I can see all the speakers.
Well, the good thing is now we have a mobile app too. So if you can go to LGBT Leaders 2013 on either your Android or your Apple device. You can download the app, and it has profiles of all the speakers, profiles of all the sessions that are happening. And we actually just also kicked off our 3rd issue of Victory Magazine.
Oh, cool.
So it is a biannual magazine that comes out, and this year it has our preview of what's happening, the schedule for the weekend. Will be in there as well. And you can visit victoryinstitute.com, or victoryinstitute.org, for more information on that. And it gives a lot more information on the organization.
Yeah, it's completely exciting. The app, you get to follow people and check in and see where everybody's at.
And you can compete. So the interesting thing is the more you interact with the app, so if you check in, if you share photos, if you comment, if you like things, you gain points.
Wow, yeah, I've seen that.
And the more points you gain, you can actually win a grand prize, which we'll announce tomorrow at our closing reception, which is going to be another interesting piece as well. But yeah, the winner of that will actually receive free registration, travel, and hotel for next year's conference, which is going to be located in Washington, D.C.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
So one of the things about this podcast and this entire Gay Ambition project is we like to learn about leaders, and we obviously have a ton of them here, and I want to learn a little bit more about your career path and how you got to where you are today. So I understand that you were at QVC for 3 years as a brand spokesperson, and you were at Vanguard in finance, and now you're a chief marketing officer of the Victory Fund. So I'm kind of wondering what skills you learned earlier on in your career and how you applied them to what you're doing now.
Sure. A lot of the early part of my career was focused on marketing. I loved marketing, loved communication since I was a child. I knew that was the path I wanted to get into. Worked for a long time in various roles at Vanguard, but I would say in my early 30s, I started to have what I called my early midlife crisis, and decided that I think most people start to analyze their lives, and I think in some cases that change focuses on your children and what will be your legacy once you move to the next level. I think for me, and I think this is sort of reminiscent of a lot of folks in the LGBT community, ones that potentially aren't having children, it's what's next for me? What will be my legacy when I'm old and gray, and I look back and say, what did I do with my life? And I just had this burning desire to get more involved with some form of public service. And the items that I was passionate about that I wanted to get more involved in, one of them was the LGBT community. And through a friend, actually met Chuck Wolf, our CEO, and this position had come up, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. And I could not be more pleased with it. I think just going into work every day and being able to work on a mission where you can see real progress and work with incredible leaders who are changing the country. I mean, not only do you get to meet incredible folks like Tammy Baldwin, who are pioneers in the movement, but I think one of the things I find so personally rewarding is dealing with the folks that are at the state level and the municipal level in these states across America that are such role models for individuals. I mean, one of the inspirations for me, I would say, is Joel Burns, who is a city council member in Fort Worth, Texas. You know, it's Texas. It's a difficult place, I think, to grow up LGBT. And Joel's making such a change in the lives of those individuals and those teens who he's a role model for. And his story just, I think, changes lives. And having him as a role model and just being able to work with those individuals and just see the progress in the community is an incredible job to go into every day.
Yeah, I'll bet it's a way that makes your passion for equality with your passion for marketing, and you can tell you're phenomenal at it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so, what are some exciting elections that are happening? Either something that just wrapped up in 2013, or maybe something we're looking forward to for 2014 that your organization is supporting?
Sure. Well, the Victory Fund, like I said, last year we endorsed 83 races. It was an odd-numbered year, which typically you don't have a lot of the federal elections. So there were 83 races this year. We won 55 of them, so it's 67% win rate. Really exciting. A lot of them were on the municipal level, where we were working on races that were sort of, like we said earlier, building up heroes in these places where equality isn't there yet. Folks like Chris Thielbach in Ohio, who's a member of their city council. Mayor Parker ran for re-election. Ed Murray getting elected in Seattle. Celia Israel, who is running for the State House in Texas. Critical race. She actually won in a highly anticipated election. Finishing first and going to a runoff. She'll be going to a runoff in the early part of January. But she would be only the second openly member of the State House in Texas, in addition to Mary Gonzalez, who is the first and will actually be here this weekend. Mary is going to be one of our big races in 2014. We'll see a lot more races, I think, next year on the federal level. Obviously, it's a federal year. I think we anticipate endorsing probably over 200 candidates next year, which will be a big list of endorsees. And that's one thing you're seeing. I mean, a lot of more folks are coming out, and you're seeing more LGBT candidates run for political office, which is an incredible thing. We talked about Michael Show. I think having our first openly LGBT governor would be an amazing feat for the community. And we have a lot of re-elections. I think next year will be important to maintain some of the seats that we have. Right now, we have 7 openly LGBT members of the United States House of Representatives, especially now that Michael Show isn't there. A few of those races are going to be tough battles, and we want to make sure we win those seats again. Folks like Kirsten Sinema in Arizona, who's been a critical voice in that community. Sean Patrick Maloney in New York, again, another tough race, which we've already endorsed for next year. So it'll be really exciting to see the progress. Steve Kerrigan is running for Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts. Some exciting things, so I would say stay tuned. And if you go to www.victoryfund.org, you can see all of our endorsed candidates. And we have a monthly process where we endorse new candidates through our Victory Campaign Board. So it will be, 2014 will be a very, very busy year, but we're excited for it. And we'll be holding our next candidate and campaign training as well. So we'll be doing one in early March in Kansas City will be our next one. So I would definitely encourage anyone that's considering running for office, check out the candidate and campaign training. It's amazing. I think it's something that will give you the tools needed to run.
Absolutely. In such a changing world, I'm wondering, what role have you seen technology playing and social media in these elections? And are there any highlights that you've seen that you could speak to?
Well, I mean, part of it, in any campaign, it's getting out the vote and keeping in touch with your constituents. I think having creative ads is critical. Last year, we endorsed Carl Ciortino, who was running for an open seat in Massachusetts for the House of Representatives. And he had a great ad that talked about his father who was in the Tea Party and coming out to his father, his Tea Party father.
Wow, that is a good ad.
But it was coming out as a progressive liberal. And just the comedy that was used in the ad was amazing. Unfortunately, Carl didn't win that race, but I mean, he's got a brilliant career ahead of him. And then I think just reaching your constituents, and this is something that we cover in the candidate campaign training. The importance of reaching out through social media, building your prospecting lists, and just keeping in touch with your constituents, letting them know what's going on with your race, letting them know about what's happening in sort of the work that you're doing, especially for incumbents. I think as an incumbent, it's critical. And we actually, one of the trainings that we held already, this was held on Thursday here at the conference, was an effective incumbency program, which is something the Victory Institute just launched. And that goes into, for individuals who are in office now, who are running a re-election, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge because you're in office, and now you have to navigate the landmines of actually running a campaign while in office. Yeah. It's a complex situation. How do you fundraise, and how do you keep in touch with your constituents? How do you share the progress and the impact that you're making in the community? And that's another incredible program that the organization has launched recently, which is a real benefit to those that are in office now.
Making the value visible.
Exactly.
And I guess having been doing this for 29 years, at least this event, and seeing LGBT candidates win and lose and get reelected, have you found any best habits, best practices that people employ in their campaigns in order to really create a winning campaign?
Well, I think the first part is networking. I think you learn from others. You learn from role models. You learn from best practices that have been shared. And I think one of the great things about this conference is, and we receive the feedback every year, not to over-program the schedule. And I don't know whether we've done a good job because it's kind of packed already in terms of what we do. But the beauty of this weekend is that we had so many of these other LGBT elected officials in the same room. And when they're not in sessions learning about professional development or learning about policy issues, they're talking to each other and they're saying, well, I'm on a city council in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you're on one in Fort Worth, Texas. What are the similarities? What have you learned in terms of working with your constituents? What have you been doing that's worked well? I think in any profession, and I know this just in marketing, learning from other folks that are in your similar role about ways that you can improve your own performance, I think is critical. And this weekend gives a great opportunity to do that. It's 4 days of not only workshops and professional career building in terms of education, but just sitting down and chatting with people over lunch. And we have a great luncheon today. In fact, our plenary luncheon today, we typically have speakers and we have a long program. We've canceled it. I mean, we're still going to have the luncheon. We're still going to get fed. This session will be a couple announcements at the beginning. We're actually going to have Jared Polis from Colorado come in and speak for a few minutes, and then they have the hour and a half just to mingle and eat lunch and enjoy the company of other folks that they can talk to about what's going on in their own communities, to take those best practices with them when they go home, on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, the energy in the room, even just last night, was palpable. I can't wait until the official event starts.
Yeah, and that's the opening. I think the opening is always tired. People are flying in. So we want to
Plus it's 0 degrees.
It was a little cold, and I decided to walk last night, which wasn't far, but definitely a little chilly out. But I walked home as well, and my ears were frozen in the 4 blocks that I came. But yeah, great opportunity, and I think now that folks are here and in town, the energy over the next couple of days is incredible. So we're really, really excited about it.
Yeah. So I have to ask this question, and it might be a little ridiculous.
Sure.
But when are we going to have our first gay president of the United States?
Well, I can get out my crystal ball and make a prediction, but I do think, and this is something we actually chatted about last year, especially because it's breaking another glass ceiling, and we're breaking a lot of those.
Yeah.
Tammy Baldwin's election last year to the Senate was one of the highlights of my life. One of the things that I worked on, or had the privilege of working on, where I just sit and wow, that says in my lifetime I never expected to see an openly LGBT member of the U.S. Senate, and we have that now. So I think there's so many more glass ceilings and so much more work we have to do, and having a gay president, in the next 20 years is going to be very possible. as we see more and more LGBT leaders run and win for elected office, it's something that I would not be surprised to see in my lifetime.
I hope we do. I guess Hillary has to shatter her glass ceiling first, and then
we're
we can shatter ours. Yes, absolutely. And so your background is obviously a lot of business and media and marketing, and so some of our listeners might not be interested in running for elected office. So I'm wondering, what one piece of advice would you give that holds true no matter what line of business you're in?
Well, I would say a couple things. I think one, don't feel like you have to completely change your job to get involved in the community. There are so many ways to volunteer. And if you go to our website, there are always ways to volunteer for brunches that we throw across the country, to volunteer for the conference, and it's a great opportunity to just dip your toe in the water and get involved a little bit more. There's ways to get involved in campaigns. There's always campaigns, and I mean they just rely on volunteers so much. So getting involved and working on a campaign to help with call time, to help with door knocking, to just be involved in that. I think that's a great exercise to really test the waters a little bit. If it's something where you feel you're so passionate that you want to make it your career, with the Victory Institute, we actually send out a twice-a-week newsletter called Gay Politics Report. Great condensed stories of what's going on. And if you scroll to the bottom of that issue when it comes out on Tuesdays and Fridays, and again, if you want to sign up for that, so you can just go to gaypolitics.com, and it'll allow you to sign up for that briefing. At the bottom of that, there's actually a jobs board that talks about all the jobs within the community. So not only just jobs sort of in the Victory Fund or other organizations that have positions, but it's just a great job board to work with positions that are touching the LGBT community. So I would suggest anyone that's interested, definitely check that out. And there are job positions all across the country, so it's not just localized, it's anywhere.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. Finally, where can people find what you're doing online, or where can they go?
Yeah, I would say if you go to victoryinstitute.org, there's actually 3 websites that you can go to. Again, for the Institute, which is running the conference this weekend, the nonprofit arm of the organization, it's www.victoryinstitute.org. And then there's www.victoryfund.org, which goes through all of our elections on the Political Action Committee side. And then for just gay news in general, you can go to gaypolitics.com.
Absolutely. And the hashtag for the event, everyone, is LGBT leaders. I'll be tweeting it. A whole bunch of other people from the event will be tweeting it, and we'll be bringing you coverage of the highlights.
Perfect. And you can download the app as well. So just go to LGBT Leaders on your mobile device and download that one about the weekend. And interact. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
You too. Thanks.